Jim Davidson, who is a former deputy chair, of course, of GMP FirstEnergy and also a member of the Business Council of Alberta. Thanks so much for being with us, Jim.
You're welcome, Amanda. I actually have my Toronto Maple Leafs jersey on because I felt that a lot of your viewers might be missing a little bit of hockey. So not that we're not going to be dealing with difficult topics, but I thought a little brevity to kick it off would work.
Well, we appreciate that. Now, in terms of what is going on out there, we saw, Jim, some big packages kicked around from Ottawa, although we don't quite know how big in the case of credit backstops. But I just want to start with what you've heard by way of support coming from the federal government. Is it enough?
Well, before I mention that, I will say that that everyone in Alberta understands the difficult position that the federal government is in currently. This is an ever-evolving and changing problem that they're in the middle of, and they have fires going on all fronts. So with that context and background, I would say, using the hockey analogy, since I'm wearing a Leafs jersey, that unlike Austin Matthews, most people in Alberta would view to date the work that's been done by the federal government as slightly underwhelming. And it revolves around a number of points, not the least of which is that although the Ophir Well package is we're happy with the dollar amount, and it was a necessity. Liquidity is the issue that the companies are facing right at the moment, and the Ophir Well package and the methane reduction announcement, which I think was a little odd to us because we have the best methane practices in the world, are helpful to us, but don't necessarily deal with the real problem that we have right at the moment. I will say that the wage subsidy program that they put in is very helpful to the service sector and was well received by them.
In terms of the credit facility support that the feds are offering, we don't know yet what the need is, what the uptake will be, or even what the total amount is. The federal government keeps saying it's sort of it's open-ended based on need. I could imagine, based on what's happening right now, Jim, that the need will be great. What should the limits of a program like that be? You couldn't ask tax dollars to backstop every single entity. Some entities will not survive a downturn, and maybe shouldn't be helped through this. But how do you make those tough calls?
Well, I think that they put in some of the parameters into the qualifications of the packages that were financially viable pre-COVID-19. So I think that they have set some criteria aside that I think are important, because there will be some companies here that unfortunately won't make it out the other side of this very wide valley that we're in. A couple of tweaks to the programs that have been announced might be, I think, more useful. They talk about initially 1 year. My sense is that this problem is going to be around a little bit longer than that. So if we can have a hard extension of that capacity for 2 years, I think it would make a lot of people, the lenders et al., more comfortable. There may have a need to have ATB come in as a secondary backstop to that also, and the $100 million limits per company might be a little bit low. Are a little low.
We have seen some talk, Jim, about even potential equity stakes being taken. Do you think that makes any sense at all?
Well, it certainly made sense to the U.S. government during the TARP program, and they did very well, if I'm not mistaken. I think they came out of it after 5 or 6 years post collapse with a $7 billion increase in valuation. I think the entities out here would be willing to enter into a dialogue to that end. And since the Canadian energy sector has been in a recession for 4 or 5 years, These companies are at fighting weight, so to speak. And my sense is that they will deal better than the U.S. comparables will, who have up until just recently been overspending capital. They will come out of this stronger and on a much more solid competitive footing. So I have reason to believe that in 3 or 4 years, when this all settles out, that the Canadian energy sector will rebound. But in the immediate future, the issue is liquidity. And the Premier of our province has been mentioning $15 to $30 billion of bridge liquidity needed. And that has been substantiated by a number of enterprises, both local, national, and international.
You are, as we mentioned, you're also on the Business Council of Alberta. The province has been struggling even before COVID-19 because of the variety of factors affecting locked-in energy and the inability of the whole sector to attract capital. What does Alberta need specifically, separate from any other province? What special needs does it have right now to get back on its feet?
Egress, the XL pipeline to move forward, the other pipelines, to the TMX pipeline to continue to move forward on behalf of the natural gas producers, which is ultimately the transition fuel to the new economy. We need the LNG Canada project to move forward. So egress is really the issue and the problem that we have right at the moment. Storage obviously is a very large problem internationally. It is a problem that Alberta has. We'll have to deal with the lack of storage in the future, but that is something to do once we get out of this very wide valley.